This is Viewpoint. I'm Zaka Jacob. The latest political controversy between the Congress and the BJP happens to be around the logo for the G20 summit. Remember, India will be hosting the G20 summit in 2023. In fact, India will be holding the rotating presidency starting next month. Next week, the Prime Minister is going to be Bali, where ceremonially the handover function will happen from the current host country, Indonesia, to the next host country, which happens to be India. Now, the Congress party, the principal opposition party, has raised a huge hue and cry around the fact that the G20 logo has a lotus in it. Now, the lotus, of course, being the BJP's election symbol. But the BJP has fact-checked the Congress by saying that the lotus was declared as the national flower of India way back in the 1950s when Jawaharlal Nehru was Prime Minister of this country. Is this silly season electoral politics that's going on, or is there merit in the Congress's argument that a overt political symbol should not be the logo of an event, a summit, which India is hosting?
मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी से विनती करूंगा कि वो बटन दबाकर भारत के G20 logo.
Prime Minister Modi unveiling the logo of India's G20 presidency.
India, home to 1.3 billion people, is a confluence of religions, traditions and customs.
The logo includes a lotus, which Prime Minister Modi says is a symbol of hope in trying times.
And seeing the world as one family.
The world is going through the after effects of disruptive, once-in-a-century pandemic, conflicts and lot of economic uncertainty. The symbol of the lotus in the G20 logo is a representation of hope in these times. No matter how adverse the circumstances, the lotus still blooms.
But for the opposition, the lotus symbol has a political link.
एक्चुअली भाजपा वाले हमेशा इलेक्शन मोड पे रहते हैं और हमेशा उनको लगता है कि हमें वोट का लाभ मिल जाए.
G20 symbol contains lotus, which is sought to be capitalized by BJP. Well, I think this is certainly objectionable.
Why the lotus was not used earlier by BJP, the ruling party, as a national flower. But no, for G20 they are going to use it now. That shows every issue they politicize.
BJP countered these allegations and said the lotus symbolizes India's ancient heritage.
कमल आज से हजारों वर्षों से भारत और भारतीय संस्कृति में सबसे महत्वपूर्ण है. राष्ट्र और राष्ट्रवाद के किसी भी तत्व के प्रति आपके मन में कितनी अवमानना है और उसको लेट डाउन करने के लिए आप किसी भी सीमा तक जाने को तैयार हैं.
India takes over the presidency of the G20 from the 1st of December and will have an opportunity to consolidate its growing foreign policy footprint. So at such a crucial moment, why politicize India's global show of strength?
One earth, one family, one future.
All right, is the opposition and the Congress in particular making an unnecessary sort of mountain out of a molehill, if you will? The lotus happens to be the national flower of the country. It's not just the BJP's election symbol. And after all, the G20 is something that India as a country will be hosting. So why bring in petty politics? Let me bring across our guests who are joining us on Viewpoint. Guru Prakash Paswan is spokesperson of the BJP, Kailash Adhikari, Director of Governance Now. Meeta Chakrabarti will be joining us. She's the spokesperson of the Congress Party. And Sanjeev Srivastav, senior journalist. Guru Prakash Paswan, the Congress is saying that the lotus is overtly the election symbol of the BJP. Why have an electoral symbol in the logo of an event that the country is going to be hosting?
No, Zaka, I think this is just a preposterous proposition. This shows the poverty of imagination and lack of ideas of the opposition party. This is nothing but opposition for the sake of opposition. You yourself mentioned in your initial set of observation that lotus is the national flower of our country. Who decided it to be a national flower of our country? Did BJP decide it to be the national flower of the country? And the Prime Minister himself, while unfurling the logo, explained the significance of lotus. Lotus is a flower, is a national flower that represents hope. that represents the idea of Vasudev Kutumbakam, one world, one family. Prime Minister was very categorical about it, that the Western notion of the world, that there is a third world, there is a second world, there is a first world. Prime Minister Modi and India today is having a say, is setting the global world order, is setting the global standards for conversation. So this is clearly beyond my comprehension. This is opposition for the sake of opposition. We have seen the last couple of years during COVID, Zaka, how India took a leadership position when it came for vaccination, when it came to masks, when it came for any other thing. India helped not only Brazil, America, but so many countries. So what is the problem with it? G20
okay, Sanjeev Srivastava, the BJP spokesperson there, saying
this
its
leadership
is a poverty of ideas. The opposition is simply creating this issue, which is a non-issue according to them. And after all, the lotus is the national flower, and it was declared so in the 1950s when Pandit Nehru was Prime Minister. It's not like the BJP even existed back then. So why are you making an issue of the lotus being part of the G20 logo?
Well, Zaka, good evening. And there are two aspects to this entire controversy. One, of course, and I won't give BJP the benefit of doubt, that they are past masters at capitalizing or exploiting any situation to their party's benefit also. So I won't say that it is just an act of innocence or a national flower being used as the symbol. Somebody may have thought about it. Now, I don't know for fact, but somebody may have thought about it. But what I found absolutely astounding is that, you know, I wouldn't have looked twice at this symbol and thought, oh, lotus is there and it's a BJP symbol and ye kamal ka phool khila diya inhone yahan bhi, and they are trying to exploit it politically. The Congress is being so churlish in its approach because people who might not even think that it's lotus and the BJP's election symbol, now they are giving BJP that much extra mileage by saying that why are you using your election, why are you using your party symbol as a component of the G20 symbol. It would have been just passed through, or it would have been, people wouldn't have noticed it or given so much thought to this whole thing.
Correct.
But now with Jairam Ramesh tweeting about it and talking about it, they are again playing into the hands of BJP, number one, by saying that, reminding everybody that it's BJP's symbol. And number two, how does it really help the Congress party? Who does it aim to convince? What extra mileage does it get by putting BJP in such a box? You don't create a good international vibe or image through this controversy. And B, willy-nilly, whether you agree with it or not, you're again playing into the hands of the BJP by trying to oppose something which is so intrinsic to Indian.
Let me ask Meeta Chakrabarti, not just the fact that the lotus is the national flower of India, and it was declared so back in the 50s when the BJP was not even in existence. The Congress and the Congress's first Prime Minister was the one who declared so. But more importantly, if you look at Hindu mythology, if you look at part of our culture, gods and goddesses sit on the lotus. So the lotus has always been integral to Indian culture and Indian religion and Indian mythology. So why are you opposed to the lotus? I mean, the fact that you are seeing it purely from the prism of the BJP's electoral symbol, it's probably the BJP's electoral symbol for the last 30 years. But the lotus is intrinsic to India and Indian culture and religion for thousands of years.
Okay, good evening to all your viewers. Politics at its best should be an attempt to take everyone along. It should be an inclusive thing. And people who are in positions of power also have this additional responsibility that they do their communication right. So here, yes, we do acknowledge that lotus is a national flower and it has played a role, and obviously it has been a national flower from the 1950s. But when we look back at the history, we see that Pandit Nehru was given the proposal of making the Indian National Congress's flag as the national flag of India. And he rejected that proposal. And one of the reasons why he rejected the proposal was purely because of his attempt of making India a truly democratic country where India and Congress and Indian National Congress Party are not synonymous. And Indian National Congress continue to function as a political organization.
But ma'am, with due respect, may I ask, who is it who came with the coinage of Indira is India, India is Indira? Surely that was not a BJP person.
Yes, it was reflection of an emotion, but I'm talking about the legacy of Pandit Nehru. I'm talking about the legacy of India as a whole. Now, coming back to this particular issue of using lotus as part of the G20 presidency logo. Now, we have to bear in mind, can anyone deny that lotus is the election symbol of BJP? No. We are going into elections in the state of Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh. There are many more state elections to be fought in 23, leading up to 2024. Can anyone deny that? No. So as a responsible political organization that is representing the government of India, it is very important to make this distinction. People, I again go back to my very basic submission here, that people who are in positions of power have the additional responsibility to
Kailash
ensure
Adhikari,
that
I mean, the point about elections coming up in Gujarat and Himachal, surely there are far more important issues that matter to the voters of those two states. I'm not getting into that. But please respond to what Meeta Chakrabarty's point is, that Nehru, when he was presented with the opportunity, Kailash Adhikari, of choosing the Congress party's flag as the flag of India, he said, no, one political party cannot be equated to the nation. Therefore, there has to be a different flag. Does that argument hold water?
Not at all. Zaka, firstly, of late, the principal opposition party of this country is into the habit of doing a self-goal. Whether calling Hindu a dirty word or now, giving this, making a mountain of a molehill of the lotus issue. It has been the habit of doing a self-goal, and it is not realizing that it is doing a self-goal. That is a sad part of it. Now, coming to the fact that we as a nation, must be proud of the fact that the presidency of the G20 summit lies with India this year, and by unveiling of the logo, we have used the tricolor, all the four colors of our national flag, into the G20 logo with the lotus. Now, lotus as a flower is a symbol of hope. And as Honorable Prime Minister, reiterated that the world has seen the worst of the pandemic, which comes once in 100 years. There's a war going on, secondly. Thirdly, there's an economic recession also, which currently India is not, much exposed to because of our strong fundamentals. But yes, at this time, if we emote some kind of hope and give out the message of one earth, one family, then I believe that's the best message that India is giving. We are into the belief of Vasudev Kutagam, and by writing Bharat in the Devanagari script, it is a very strong and bold message. And by making, such that this is a political, first of all, G20 is not political. Why are you bringing politics into it?
Okay.
There is no need to bring into
messaging.
it.
No, the messaging, but ma'am, there is something called silly season in politics. I guess this seems like a silly season controversy, especially more so because there are two big elections that are happening. They are right around the corner, Himachal and Gujarat. Both of those elections, it's the BJP versus Congress straight fights. The Congress could have made a contest out of it if they focused on the substantive issues, the issues that matter to the people of these two states. Unfortunately, I don't think the lotus matters to the people of these two states. I mean, the lotus, this is a symbolism fight, if at all it is a fight. But let me bring in Guru Prakash Paswan. The need to rise above partisan politics, the need to rise above symbolisms of political parties. Sandeep Srivastava says surely it can't be a coincidence, or surely it can't be a slip that the lotus came there as part of the logo. Someone would have alerted to the fact that this is the symbol of the ruling party, or was that discarded?
No, Zaka, I don't think. I think it's extremely important to have a very important perspective here that our national emblem, it stands upon lotus. You mentioned about our culture and civilization. Obviously, we are aware of the distaste of the Congress party when it comes to Hindu ideas, Hindu culture and Hindu civilization. But Lakshmi ji and Saraswati ji, their Vahaks is a lotus. They are standing upon lotus. They are sitting upon lotus. So this is clearly the standpoint of the Congress party. I mean, you have to understand that the Congress party is setting new standards of disappointment for the Indian voter every passing day. G20 is a multilateral group. It's a multilateral institution. So I'm sure the decision would have taken in consultation with the entire leadership, the entire bureaucracy of G20. But like you pointed out, this is going to be the biggest self-goal of the Congress party in the months to come. I mean, this is clearly the lack of ideas, the lack of vision and lack of imagination of the Congress party. They're attacking the national emblem. They're attacking the Hindu culture and civilization values. They're attacking Goddess Lakshmi. They're attacking Goddess Saraswati and everything. This is the approach of the Congress party.
Like I said, lotus has been culturally associated with our religions, with our culture for thousands of years. Hear me out. Give me 10 seconds. Whether it is Goddess Lakshmi sitting on a lotus, Vishnu's feet being referred to as lotus feet, It has been an integral part of India's culture and heritage for thousands of years. Why are you linking it to the symbol of a political party which has been in existence only for 30 years? I mean, you are giving them more importance than this logo deserves.
Okay. Now, I think it is absolutely, it has become a norm these days to drag religion into every discussion, into every debate, into every discourse by the BJP people.
Lotus is a matter of faith, ma'am.
I am not
Lotus is a matter of faith. Lotus is a matter of faith. Please have your facts right. Lotus is a matter of faith, ma'am. Please don't. No, you did interrupt. You did interrupt, ma'am. Lotus is a matter of faith for us.
One at a time. Let Meeta make a point. Yes, thank you. Yeah, one at a time, please. Yeah, Meeta, make your point.
Show some grace, please.
Yeah, Meeta, make your point, though.
So it has become a norm to drag religion into every discourse, into every debate. Now, symbolism does play a very important part in political communication. As I said, what Pandit Nehru did several decades back and kept India as a separate entity and Indian National Congress as a political organization, a separate entity, we expect better from the government of India.
That point is taken. How will you respond? Ma'am, how will you respond to the BJP's charge? Ma'am, give me 10 seconds. How will you respond to the BJP's charge that since lotus is integral to the Hindu faith, Lakshmi is on the lotus, Vishnu's feet are referred to as Kamal Charan, how will you respond to the charge by the BJP that this puts paid to this whole thing that the BJP has been saying for the last many years, that the Congress is an anti-Hindu party?
Please.
I want your response. I'm waiting for it. Meeta Chakraborty.
Okay, all right. So as I said, obviously it kind of suits their political narrative and their political messaging, and I'm absolutely not going to fall in the trap. As a political opposition party, it will suit them if we would have kept quiet and we would have we know that BJP and Modi, Prime Minister Modi, they like to promote themselves, they like to promote their party, and all they think is election and election management 24/7. While it's their right as a principal opposition political party going into state elections and then into 2024 elections as the principal opposition to the BJP, we are well within our rights to point this out, to make the people of the nation aware as how symbols are being used. And to say that symbolism is not an important part of
there are certain things in politics which are supposed to be beyond the beltway, to take an American phraseology. And foreign policy happens to be one of them. The fact is, today, India is the 5th biggest economy in the world. We've all been through this terrible 2 years of the COVID pandemic, and India is one of the few countries that's come out stronger after the pandemic. Even you take this Russia-Ukraine war, there was a time when, the West was not very particularly chuffed about India's position, not condemning Russia, not voting against Russia, continuing to buy oil from Russia. Today, people are talking about whether India can become an interlocutor between Russia and Ukraine. So, India's position in the Committee of Nations at a time when it's going to be the host for G20 is very, very strong indeed. Doesn't this controversy take away from that position of strength or that projection of strength that we're trying to do?
Is that for me?
Sanjeev Srivastava.
Zaka,